Hey everybody, welcome back. It's time to do those T4 rankings again. So we got some new characters in the game, we got some reworks, so typically when that type of thing happens, I go back to my giant list that's got every character, every ability in the entire game ranked as far as T4 abilities go. So this giant spreadsheet that I've gotten concocted is inclusive, like I said, everything. And the way I do it is when you talk about a damage thing, I look at not just the percentage, but the base damage. That is critical. So a lot of this is the bang for the buck. You know, what's the best upgrade? I've been really good at selectively managing my T4 upgrades as far as in the game, and this resource is exactly how I do it. So sharing it with you guys, hopefully it can help. So before we get to that, again, as always, at least recently, link below. You want 50 bucks? Go to that link, click like, let's get it to 500 likes, share it with your alliance, tell them just to go there for 50 bucks, comment Disney Sony. Back in the day it was who is at fault for the Spider-Man debacle, but hey, guess what? It's not so much of a debacle anymore, but just comment Disney Sony and click like, and I can still give away the 50 bucks. So anyway, gotta get it to 500 likes before I can do that. I'll keep pitching it until we get there. I think we're like 200 away or something like that, so we still got a lot of work to do. So anyway, like I said, share it. And until then, let's get into our lovely spreadsheets, our analysis, and get to these rankings.
Bring me WolverThor!
Alright, so before we get started, I pulled the Cyclops information out that was in there from a long time ago. His kit got reworked, so I pulled it out, and there's on msf.gg, first off, that's where I get all of my information for this. Those guys do a great job, so I definitely encourage you to go to that website to use as a resource. But I decided to take Cyclops stuff out because I wanted to relook at it, and there's obviously some new stats, etc. But in case you're wondering how these rankings work, I've basically got a great category, good, okay, meh, crap, and total crap. So I get it within those categories, and then I typically rank it within those categories depending on where they're at. I really don't get into ranking even the bottom half of the good or any of the okays through craps. I might get them towards the top of those sections, but that's about it. So that's how I'm going to be kind of classifying these things. And let's first look at the new characters in the game. Alright, so let's start at the bottom, because that's just what you do when you do lists. You start at the bottom, you work way to the top. So, and before I say, these things, let me know if you guys disagree with any of these, if you think they should be higher, lower, etc. With so many characters in the game, with this patch, or in the adjustments, it got to be a little bit tough to kind of remember some things. So, but I think I plugged them pretty decently with where they need to go. So anyway, let's get to it, because there's a lot of these. First up, aim security special. Basically, the adjustment here is he heals or she heals herself and adjacent allies for an additional 3k. To me, that's nothing. 3,000 HP is absolutely nothing. I label it as crap. I'm leaving it as crap. Unless it's a higher percent heals. And you'll see that consistent within my rankings. If the heals aren't a good heal, forget about it. 3k is not that great of an upgrade. Next up is aim researcher. It's another heal lowest health ally and adjacent for an additional 1,000 energy up to 7. Again, the 1k, not putting T4s into something on that. And then the second part of this I just think is kind of lame. Another additional 25% chance to flip a bleed on the lowest health ally and adjacent allies. So if there's bleeds, she flips it. It's like, okay, that's nice, but it's very situational. So I don't like situational T4 usage unless it's like, for war or something along those lines. So right now I've got this labeled as crap. So next up is aim monstrosity basic. It's an additional 10% chance to apply defense down. I just don't love it. It's you already got the 90% chance. 100% is nice, but for 10%, I've got it labeled as meh. It could probably be a little bit higher because it's that guaranteed chance. But unless you're finding it's not being applied too often, I'm not sure it's that big of a deal. Next up, aim assaulter basic, also a meh. So this is a damage one, so it's 20% damage. So we're gonna have to scroll to the right here and see how it comes in the rankings. It's 172nd, and as far as like a damage increase in the game, which is pretty lame. It's not very high, and I'm just, yeah, I'm pretty sour on that. And I like Aim Assaulter, but just not seeing it. Scientist Supreme Special, flip an additional 1 negative effect into positive effects for all allies. So instead of 3 negative effects, it's now 4 negative effects into positive effects for all allies. Again, very situational. Do you have those 4? It's kind of one of those, if you really want to go hard on these guys and you think there's gonna be that many negative effects, sure. In my use of them, I'm not seeing it a ton, but I've got this as a meh right now. If you know, it could, if you see that there's a ton of negative effects and that's really costing you, then it's worthwhile. But at the moment, I'm not seeing it. Another damage, Scientist Supreme Basic. It's an additional 40% on her basic, which comes in at 188. It's pretty bad. It's another meh. You know, it's just, you know, whatever. So, and these, you'll notice these aren't ranked. They're not worth the rankings. So that's why, you know, some are in some spots versus others, but we're not actually ranked. Those are all just one big group. Next up is our category. Aim Security Passive. I struggled a little bit with this one because you always like more resist, but it's just 5%. And Aim Security only does have that taunt for 1 turn, and it normally when she's got it, she ends up getting sped up because of the timing of everything. So I'm kind of like, well, if it gets torn off, who cares? Because she's going to get sped up anyway and not going to have it that long. So I wish there was some different dynamics that they could figure out there to really make her a bit more of a tank. But there's a chance I might end up taking her off of the team and putting another damage dealer on there, because I'm not sure how much focus I'm seeing done on just someone sitting on security. And then Aim Security Basic, it's an additional 40% damage to your target, and then that weird ability blocked aspect, I don't really care about that one. So the 40% damage comes in ranked at 142nd. It's okay, but it's not something that I'm really gonna dump in there. So and then the next one is Aim Researcher Basic. It's got some additional 30% damage and a guaranteed chance to apply offense down for 1 turn. Again, the offense down is nice, but it's kind of like, what's the damage? It's 183. That's terrible. So unless you're finding that offense down really isn't getting procced and you use her a lot, she's a lot of red stars or something, not doing it. So I'm not going to go there. So next category is okay. Scientist Supreme Ultimate. This heal is an additional 1500. The only reason this is in the okay category is because the plus 25% extra focus per each aim ally for their attack. So I could see, I mean, when she applies all those negative buffs, you want to make sure they tick. So I'm not sure you need it. I want to keep watching to see how that kind of goes and blitz, etc. But it seems like she's applying quite a bit of those debuffs. So I might lower this if it's like there's no point to this. It's like she's already got all the focus she needs, because 25% for, you know, all of the allies is plenty. Next up, Aim Infector Special. You gotta love speed bar in the game, but I only place this in okay. Again, the heal is decent, but you know, 4K, it's like, I don't know, it's still not a lot. That's, you know, you're hitting for 20s, 30s, and some alts are in the 70s, 80s, you know, 100K mark. It's like, what's 4,000 health gonna do? And then the 1 additional counter, kind of like, all right. So that's kind of where I sit with that one. Scientist Supreme Passive. So I struggled with this one a little bit because I really liked it to start. And, you know, the revive aspect, I'm not a big, like, well, again, it's situational. So an additional 5% health when revived. Well, how often is that going to happen? So I wish the ability energy to aim allies with a negative effect. I mean, I get why it's not 2, because it would have been probably too OP. But I was just torn on making this any higher because of the fact that it's still just a chance at 2. It's 1 to 2. So there's a lot of RNG at play there. I have it as okay. I could see this going all the way up to great, depending how it procs, but anyway, I left it there, and that's just kind of how it is, just because it's like, well, it's not a guaranteed 2. It's just from 1 to 1 to 2. So anyway, it's in the okay category. Coulson's basic, some damage, and then that rank comes in at 192nd. honestly, that probably should be lower based on some of the other ones I had in there. I think that it was the chain targets that was like, okay, so there's some additional targets to the adjacents, so I brought it up from those other categories. I don't know. It's not a great damage increase, so I was going, all right. Invisible Woman's basic, again, 40% damage, but there's also that 5% barrier to self. But the damage came in ranked at 155th, so it's kind of like not super great. So it's going to, all right. Graviton basic. So this is currently broken, if you're not aware. The bonus attacks per negative effects for both Graviton and the Assaulter are not working properly. We've informed Fox Next of this. Hopefully they get fixed, but I do want to mention it as being currently broken. So it's plus 25% damage on bonus attacks, so really it's kind of a crap, ability, but it comes in ranked at 173. Crap because it doesn't do anything because it's broken, but if it was working, then it would be, around this area. Aim Monstrosity passive, on turn heal for an additional 5% of max health. I've got this as okay, kind of towards the middle of end of it. 5% health isn't a ton, but I do like 20% health each turn as opposed to 15. He's also slow, so I'm like, how often is that going to proc and are you going to get it for it? So it's just sitting there right now. A little bit, and you'll notice some of these actually have rankings next to them. So now it's, it's not just okay. It's like I'm actually placing them within, lower, upper, middle, etc. of this particular category. Aim Infector, plus 60% damage to target. So it's like, okay. And then transfer, it's about the transfer of negative effects. It's to a primary target, an additional 30% chance to apply a random negative effect. So how that works is Infector's already transferring the negative effects to its target. It's now got, instead of a 70% chance, a 100% chance to transfer one more negative effect. So I was kind of, it's, like, okay, one more, but it's ranked 90th in damage. So I was like, that to me is more of a secondary, kind of like, oh, well, the damage is great, and you get that. So it's about the damage to me. Graviton passive, plus 10% damage for aim minion allies. I thought about this one higher too. It's kind of like, all right, so you're talking about ultimately, depending on you're running Assaulter, Monstrosity, Infector. So I've just got it as okay, kind of mid-tier. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I love aim, but I don't know if I love them that much. Aim Assaulter passive. Another speed bar change. It's 10% speed bar for himself and adjacents, plus gain 5% damage. So the damage, it comes in at pretty low at 210 because it's just the 5%. The speed bar at 10% for self and adjacent, I was kind of like, man, that's... And the thing that I like about it is he's already got speed up for 3 or 4 turns, so he's going often. So it's kind of like every time he goes, he speeds up everybody, or at least speeds up their speed bar. So that's why I've got this one ranked so high, because he could really just kind of push his teammates to keep going and getting those speed bars going, especially when you got a slow Monstrosity. That can help a lot. Aim Researcher passive. This is the first one that I've got in the good category. On turn, an additional 25% chance to choose one random ally to apply one random positive effect. So basically you're guaranteed that positive effect. And when a negative effect is applied to an aim ally, fill that character speed bar by an additional 10%, which gets it to 20. So if you think about it, it's like there's a lot of speed there. There's a lot of positive effects going around. So I'm like, that's actually pretty solid. I could actually drop this one lower, but right now I've got it in the good category. Aim Infector passive. An additional random negative effect for 2 turns. So instead of 1, it's 2, and an additional 5% health. So got it as good. So instead of 1 negative effect, it's 2. I like that. It's pretty nice. Okay, so Coulson. Now, I've got to say these are, the ones that are specific for war can be tough for me. It's kind of like, where does that come in at? So his passive. The first part is it changes the speed bar for medic by an additional 10%. So instead of 50, it's 60. It's like, okay, that's okay. Gain 20% max health on ward, and this part is specific to war defense. Gain 20% max health. Shield allies. They gain another 20% max health. And then on spawn, apply immunity to all shield allies up from 4. So there was a chance that he would give it to all but 1. So, basically this is about, 20% health and a little bit of speed bar, and then not screwing over one person with the immunity. So I'm still got it at the bottom of 60 of the good in kind of that 60 range, but I think it's pretty essential for war if you want to really boost up that defense, because they're going on defense, and I think that ultimately that could be something that you really need. It's the lowest of the needs for him though. His ultimate, war defense clear all up from 3. So instead of 3 positive effects cleared, you clear all of them from just the enemy with the most damage. And then you're going to call an additional ally. So instead of 1, you're calling 2 allies with the most damage to attack the enemy with the most damage. So you're clearing these positive buffs from this person, and then you're calling multiple people to attack that person. Plus, there's a 30% damage to all enemies on this attack. So that comes in at ranked 170. I just like the removal of the effects and the additional enemy attack. This could probably be higher up, but again, I think that's kind of an essential for war. If you're a big war person, I'd put something in that. All right, next up, Invisible Woman's passive. Now, there's been some debate on this a little bit that I've had with some folks. When an enemy attacks Fantastic Four ally with barrier, attack that enemy for an additional 50% damage. Okay. Gain 10% health, and then your allies get 10% health. So I've got it as kind of a mid-good. It's 117 ranked damage, so it's basically a counter attack that increases the damage, or when she counters, that damage is increased. I could see this maybe being a little bit higher. The health pools, and again, I try to, with this being such a resource management game, I try to see what I can essentially get away with. So I'm not sure that you need this one, but we'll see. I beat an even X-Men with my Fantastic Four. I think it was around the 240 range, and I beat an X-Men team. So, and I don't have this. So could it be better? Yeah, it could. Maybe it'll punch up more, but that's where they're at right now. All right, so the next up I've got here is Aim Monstrosity Special. It's an additional 50% damage for the attack, but, and this is the big part of it, and it's a big but. I shouldn't even say but, because it's and. You gain offense up before the attack. So that to me is huge, because it's a 55th ranked damage increase here. So this, I've got over here, because I'm actually legitimately thinking about upgrading this. I have a 5 red star Aim Monstrosity. The offense up before the attack, the additional damage, I'm like, ooh man, that could really crush some people. So I'm really heavily considering this, even though it's in a good category. I like that offensive up before the attack and the additional damage. I think it's big. Aim Assaulter Special, again, more damage, 50% attack. Bonus attack, the primary target for an additional 25% per negative effect. That's, like I mentioned, broken. So this could potentially be higher up. It's ranked 50th as far as damage for just the primary attack. Yeah, man, I think Assaulter could be mowing people down if that bonus attack was working right. So with the additional 25% per damage per negative effect, that could end up being much higher, but I just can't do it right now because it's broken, and I need to see it in action a little bit. Next up, Graviton Alt, pure damage, 50%, comes in ranked at 74. I could probably drop that one down, actually, now that I think about it. It's like, I mean, if that's 74 and, this Assaulter Special is 50, yeah, it's kind of like, I think that, and I'll change it on air here, so to speak. So we're just going to change it to 55. So I'd actually bring that one down a little bit, because it's like, that's not as good as the other one you just said. So, and I agree with myself. Now, Graviton up again. We've got his special, an additional. Now this is 60% damage to primary and adjacent. And for any of those who aren't aware, like, it is hard to do the calcs on the adjacent because there's just too many factors, with either having no adjacents or one adjacent or, multiple adjacents. I've just chosen to focus on the primary target and then recognize that there could be adjacents. So that's a 54% ranked increase. Given that's primary and adjacent, that's a huge damage increase to multiple players. So I've got that ranked towards the top of the good section. It could legitimately be at the in the great section, but couldn't quite do it yet. Okay, so the first one in our great section, Invisible Woman's Alt. Apply offense down to all enemies instead of 3. So again, offense down to all, that's huge. And then barrier all enemies or all allies for an additional 10% up to 40. I think it's essential. It's something you really need to do. You need that offense down on all the enemies, and the additional 10% is it's almost extra, to be honest with you. So I love this one. I've already put my T4s into it. Highly recommend it. It's ranked about 20th in this section. Right next to that, which I did just before it, is her special. Now, this one is an absolute must. The ability doesn't work right if you don't do this. So it's one of the, you have to do T4s. If you're going to play with Fantastic Four, this is one of the T4s you have to do, because again, the ability won't work right. You clear 2 negative effect from all allies instead of 3. That's not the part that is right, that you need. This part is the part that the ability wouldn't work right otherwise. Apply stealth to self and all allies instead of just 3. If you didn't T4 this, that means you're going to leave 2 people open every single time. You want just the one person open who's got the highest health. So you want all allies. So to me, you absolutely need to do that. So it's I hate calling it a great upgrade, because I guess it's not, but from 3s to alls, you need those, and the fact that she's meant to hide everybody, okay, we have to have that one. And then Coulson, his special, this is essential for war. I've got this around 14th. This is very Namor alt-esque, which is actually why I've got it right next to it. But so he's got some damage to the primary target and all the other enemies, and also the remove positive effect from all enemies. So instead of just removing 3 positive effects, he's removing all of them. Absolute must to get for him. If you're going to do anything Coulson, do this one. You've got to get that clear of all those positive effects. And the damage increase is 209. It's trash, but it's all about making sure you get the positive effects off the board. So that's all of the new players that got added to the game. You can kind of see Coulson's special is the highest one I got. And then I've got the Invisible Woman special and alt. You know, I'd love to see some of those aims a little bit higher, but the truth is they're a minion team. Graviton, Scientist Supreme. You know, there's plenty of T4 abilities I'm thinking about putting up there. But right now, I'm just, I got them where I got them. You know, and you can kind of see my rankings list. I still got America Chavez specials #1 because of where it ranks damage-wise. And just so you understand, that's the increase. You know, you got 14,000 versus, you know, the next one, you know, 9,000, 10,000. It's the increase there is way better than anything else in the game. So mainly because of that additional damage per hero brawler. So if she's now farmable, I recommend you farming her and getting that. If you got even any sort of brawler team going, I would build her up, get that passive, get that special. They're both great, and that special just knocks people out. Especially if you've got a Spider-Man on your team and you can get defense down, forget about it. You are just one-shotting people left and right. So I love it. It's a good ability. And then you got your Captain Marvel. Thing special still up there at #3. I might actually pump my T4s into that tonight. We'll see. Phoenix is in there. Captain Marvel, Ultron, Thanos passive, Green Goblin alt, Phoenix basic, Magneto passive, Miss Marvel passive, Namor alt, and then, you know, so on and so forth. So I always put this spreadsheet in the description below, so it'll be there for any of those who want to see it. And let's kind of wrap this thing up in a cute little outro. All right, so there it is. So a lot of new characters added, / reworked. So, you know, it's kind of tough to get all those things into the game in the spreadsheet, you know, and analyzed, you know, especially with real life, etc., etc. But hopefully this gives you an idea where I think these things are placed and how it can help you prioritize where you want to put those T4 mats. Should you put them into these guys? We got, you know, Cyclops I've got off of the list now because, you know, kit rework. We'll see what happens there. And we've got a bunch of new tunes coming to the game. So, you know, T4 mats are, you know, they're rare. I've stockpiled a bunch, but only because I'm kind of waiting to see, you know, what's happening with mutants, you know, Hela, you know, what's up with her, what's happening with this Halloween patch, you know, how good are those tunes going to be, you know, Ghost Rider, and then just see exactly where, you know, we want to put these things. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Again, I always hope these videos help you guys. I hope they help you prioritize. I use these things to really kind of just stay focused, stay efficient, understand where I can get the best bang for my buck. And that's what I hope that these will do for you. So share with your friends, alliance mates, etc. Again, try to win $50. And until next time, have a fantastic day.